Hi, I'm Awesome Joe. Thank you very much for taking in the time of your day to watching another one of my videos. You guys are such a huge inspiration for me to doing my great personal hobby. And I love to talk about movies, but more importantly, I love to talk about them with you. And I apologize for having not to make any of my videos very recently. I have been very sick and for the past couple of weeks, but now that I'm feeling better, it gives me a great opportunity to go ahead and talk a little bit of movies with you. And so what I want to talk about with you guys today is two in particular films that I recently watched a couple of days ago that very much intrigued me into wanting to talk about these movies, which are Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and The Fantastic Beasts, The Crimes of Grindelwald. And I very much am excited to talk about these movies here with you guys today, because as you all know, that when I recently did my review for the Harry Potter movie review, that I explained that I left the Wizarding World and I did not have a significant care to these Fantastic Beasts film, because I was fully satisfied with the 8 Harry Potter films, that I really didn't need to be introduced to any other story that is included with this franchise. But like I said, I love movies. I love to talk about them, and this franchise put me in a certain position as to wanting to watch them and wanting to talk about them here with you. So let's go ahead and get started here, you guys, with Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. So Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them was recently released back in 2015, and from what I remember, and unfortunately I did not get to go and watch this movie in theaters because, well, like I said, I left the Wizarding World and I wasn't really fully to the satisfaction of wanting to go and be introduced to another story within the same universe. So, but I went ahead and watched it, and I was okay with it. You know, it's not my best favorite movie of all time. You know, it's an okay film. You're introduced to this world where it takes place in the 1920s, and now we're located on the other side of the world in New York City, because Harry Potter took place back in London or Europe or somewhere around there. But this one takes place in New York, so it gives you more of a different feeling, a different feel to the story, being introduced to a new set of characters, a new storyline, and the character development within this film is very, I don't know, it just didn't feel that interesting. This movie isn't really a film that I'm very overly fond of. I watched it and I wasn't bored, but I was slightly confused because, like I said, everything is new. Everything, even though it's connected to the Harry Potter movies, I just don't really feel the connection. I really don't see as to how a franchise such as this is going to be any significant importance to the Harry Potter films. So, and correct me if I'm wrong here, because I know that I feel like I'm out of place by having to give out that certain comment, but I really definitely feel that a movie such as Fantastic Beasts is a kind of a franchise that didn't necessarily need to be created, other than the fact of being a money grabber. But other than that, the story starts off with a character named Newt Scamander, played by Eddie Redmayne, and I love the name Newt Scamander. I mean, it sounds so interesting. It sounds funny when you blabber it out in your mouth. It's a very interesting character name, and that's actually one of the pluses I love about this, is the name of the character is so overly fond of and very great, a great tone. Who is introduced to the world of New York for what in particular reasons we do not know. But we are also introduced to a different character played by Catherine Waterston, who is playing the character Tina. And I did not read these books of the Fantastic Beasts books, but I know that there is a given fact that somewhere along the lines in later books that these two do get together. They are a certain love interest, and I could actually see that without having to have any acknowledgement of that fact, because I can tell that these two of the actors who portray these characters, you can tell that there is a significant chemistry between the two that is developing very slowly. It's building to a certain position for them to have a better portrayal in future books. And I really did love that chemistry. It's very great. We're also introduced to a different character who is a is a nomad, based off of what they're told in this, on the other side of the world, which is also another term for, no magic, which is a regular, typical human being, is the character named Jacob, played by Dan Fogler. And I love Dan Fogler. I think that he's such an amazing actor. Not that amazing, but, he's very fun to watch. The first time I saw him, he was in the Balls of Fury movie long time ago, and he's very funny in that film. And I know that I've seen him in The Goldbergs, the TV show, and I know that he is now in the Walking Dead series. And when I saw him there, I'm just like, oh great, I love seeing this guy. What a great character. What a great actor to play such an amazing character. And so we are also given another great character, Queenie, played by Alison Sudol. And I think that's a very interesting, funny little character, giving a little bit of brightness to the film. She's a very lovable and adorable type of character, that gives you kind of much of a sweet spot. And then we're given another character that I wasn't very, very intrigued with, is Credence, played by Ezra Miller. I was a little bit disturbed by this because I have no idea what the importance of this character is. I have no idea what certain type of situation that he's involved in. And he has a little bit of a connection to another character in this film who happens to have a little bit of a villainous role in this film. Percival Graves, played by Colin Farrell, and I love Colin Farrell. I think he's a great actor, and having to see him being in this type of franchise, I felt like this wasn't really his place to be in a movie such as this. I always find him to be in different films that are nowhere connected to a film such as this. I was very confused by that character also, because even though I understand his villainy in this film, I wasn't really so, intrigued by it. Because I love villains. They're so great. And, but I didn't really understand it. I really didn't really understand what his plan was, what it was that he was trying to do. Actually, the whole thing in general is I do not even know what this movie is all about, even though I've watched it already 3 times. Maybe I need to watch it some more in order for me to get a better understanding of it. But all in all, I did not like Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them as well as I expected it to. Because on Rotten Tomatoes, they gave it a 74%. And for me, I just didn't really like it enough. I went ahead and gave it a 52%. I mean, like I said, it's not a movie that I would say is such a great film. And I love movies based in past periods of time, back in the 1970s, the 1940s, and even the 1920s. So it was a great, interesting feel in having to be introduced to that certain time period. But, if the story doesn't capture me, then I'm not very well fond of the film. But so, like I said, 52%. If you guys have a different rating towards this film, leave a comment in the section in the bottom. And I do give huge applause to this film at the ending, having to have this great reveal, knowing that Colin Farrell is actually Johnny Depp, playing the character of Grindelwald, which was a little bit mentioned within the Harry Potter movies, that we're going to get more of a better clearer understanding to whom this character is. He is actually the main villain of the story arc, so I'm really interested in having to see what this character is all about, especially having to know that it's being portrayed by Johnny Depp. So, like I said, 52% is my rating, 74% they give it on Rotten Tomatoes. And if you have any other different questions, comments, complaints, or concerns, please leave a comment in the section in the bottom, and we can have an awesome conversation regarding towards this film or any film that you would like to talk about in general. So that's my ratings and my review for Fantastic Beasts, Where to Find Them. And now let's jump on to the Fantastic Beasts, The Crimes of Grindelwald. Alright, so the Fantastic Beasts, Crimes of Grindelwald was just recently released this past, I think about a month or two ago, and back in November, and I really did love this movie. It was such a great film. I thought I wasn't gonna like it because the first Fantastic Beast I did not like as much as I wanted to. But I find that this movie is very, very interesting. It's a very, very inspiring. And I love the fact that this movie has much more of a connection to the Harry Potter films, giving it much more of a better, clearer understanding, even though that this film has many, many more question marks that need to be revealed in future films, which are within the other Fantastic Beasts books. I love the fact that we get all returning cast members from the previous film, which is Eddie Redmayne. We got Catherine Waterstone, Dan Fogler, Ezra Miller, Alison Sudol, and we get some newcomers here, even though that he was introduced at the ending of the first Fantastic Beasts film. Johnny Depp playing Grindelwald. I loved him playing Grindelwald. It was so fun having to see him play Grindelwald in this movie. So fun. I really do love the escape sequence that was portrayed at the beginning of the film, and I love what he does within the whole entire movie, even though that he is only in there for a significant amount of time. And not only that, do we get the returning character, a younger version of Albus Dumbledore, played by Jude Law, which I believe is a fantastic performance that he portrays in this movie. So brilliant, so awesome. I really do, and I really did enjoy every single performance that he has made within this film. So bravos to him for doing such a great job, and I'm looking forward to seeing him doing much more of a better job in future Fantastic Beasts films. And I love the fact that not having to know that Albus Dumbledore and Grindelwald actually have a love connection. I did not know that. I was very uncomfortable with that fact, but having to know that it is now part of the story, part of the movies, it puts me in a difficult spot in having to wonder, okay, what does this mean for future Fantastic Beasts films, and how does that connect into the Harry Potter saga? So I thought that was very, very interesting, and having to know that there is going to be a certain time period to where these two are going to be clashing against each other once more in the 1940s. So there will be a time jump because, as we all know, the first and second Fantastic Beasts films are placed within the 1920s. So there will be a time jump within the time frame of either the third, the fourth, or the fifth book. I find that to be very, very interesting, and I'm very much looking forward to that sequence taking occurrence on the big screen. So we're also introduced to Leta Lestrange, who had a significant reference in the first film by a certain photograph, who was played by Zoe Kravitz. And I find this character to be very interesting and very confusing, but in an interesting way. I really do admire and how she has a certain love triangle between another character, Theseus Scamander, played by Callum Turner, and her love interest with Newt Scamander, whom then both have a certain relationship together while they were students at Hogwarts. And I love how we're introduced back into the world of Hogwarts, even though it's just a certain minor sequence within the film. It's just great in having to get to be re-invited back into the world that we which knew within the 8 Harry Potter films. And I wasn't really okay with this change, having to know that Nagini, who was the snake serpent of Voldemort in the Harry Potter film, is now played by a human character played by Claudia Kim. And I don't find that this character really does have a significant importance to the story, but she does join Credence, who is in returning to this film, played again by Ezra Miller, who is to be believed killed within at the ending of the first film, is now brought back and now is on a certain mission, having to find out who he is and where he comes from, and like I said, it has some certain connection to Leta Lestrange, and it was such an interesting story that I had to review through it several times to get a clearer and better understanding. So hopefully within later films, even though that we do get a clearer understanding, that we would get more of a significant importance as to why this story is the way it is, and how, like again I said, how it connects to the Harry Potter films. So it's a great, interesting movie, a great, interesting story. I'm very disappointed in the fact that many audiences, critics, and fans were not very much intrigued with this film, but I had a great, interesting time with this movie. I love the fact that how at the ending Johnny Depp's Grindelwald is giving out this speech to many wizards around him, letting them know that, listen, I am told to be this certain type of character, but very much I am this certain type of character, and I've seen the future, and I want you all to join me in this conquest into fulfilling this this dream of mine. So I love how he persuades so many characters into joining him, including Ezra Miller, who believes that Grindelwald has the answer to his identity, and luring Queenie to him also because she's in love with Jacob, because they developed that certain love relationship between the two in the first film, and they want to get married. But the thing is that there is a wizarding law that a witch and a no-mage can have a matrimony relationship together. So in order for her to fulfill her dream, she joins Grindelwald to help him complete his task. So I really did love that interesting story, putting them two together. It was so interesting, it was so fascinating having to watch that. It was, I don't know, I just had a great time with this movie. So much more fun than I did with the first film. Rotten Tomatoes actually gave it a 38%, which I'm very, very disappointed with that rating. And I loved it enough to wanting to give it an 86%. A lot of fun, loved it, great film. And oh, and then to give you guys also the fact that at the ending of the film, I love so much, even though that there is no connection to the books or the story itself, we are introduced now to a newer character, brand new, who happens to be a Dumbledore brother to Albus Dumbledore, which is Credence. This is his identity, and a lot of people, a lot of critics were very, very confused by this, but I went ahead and I did some research on this as to how this all fits in together. And yeah, it still brings up a huge question mark. I'm pretty sure that J.K. Rowling, the writer of the books and the films, has a clear idea as to knowing what she does know what she's doing, and I'm sure everything will come to a clearer understanding in the next 3 films. So I pretty much have to advise you all to just be patient, wait it out, and just enjoy this cliffhanger that I feel is as great as The Empire Strikes Back. So I don't know, I had a great time, a lot of fun. I'm very, very excited to see what happens next. Even though I didn't get to go see these 2 films in theaters, I'm very much watching the next Fantastic Beasts in theaters because I'm so excited to get to see what happens next. So I'm Awesome Joe. Thank you guys so much for taking in the time of your day to watching my videos. You guys are such a huge inspiration to me for having to do my films, my videos. I love to talk about movies, but more importantly, I love to talk about them with you. And as always, stay awesome. Thanks, guys. I thank you guys so much, and I will see y'all in the next video. Bye.